Hey friends, today I want to review Warrior 2. This can be a really traditional pose in a yoga practice, and it's often sequenced a lot, and especially as a transition pose as well as some poses like side angle lunge or triangle build off of Warrior 2. So one thing I want to go over is about hip rotation. So the way we perform in some of these poses has a lot to do with how much rotation we innately have at the hip. And I will have another video on this channel about how to test for hip rotation. But first I just want to touch on that for that front leg, it does require a decent amount of external rotation, which some people are limited in. So one way to just kind of test where you are briefly, I'll make a whole other video about this, is kind of coming up onto one leg, taking this right knee bent, and then rotating the right leg out as much as you can with this 90-degree bend and the foot flexed. That's going to show you how much hip kind of external rotation you have there and can be really helpful for setting up Warrior 2. And you might notice kind of one side is different than the other. So when you're coming to Warrior 2, I'm going to start my right leg forward. Your right foot is forward, and that right leg is externally rotated as much as you can. So for most people, or a lot of people, that's going to be toes facing forward. If you don't have enough external rotation to kind of get the right toes out, you might be slightly angled in. What I always say is your toes and your knees go together. So if your toes are angled out and your knees in, that's not so great. Or if your toes are in and your knees out, that's not so great either. So if your toes are pointing forward, your knees kind of between your first and second toe, and your knees stacked over your ankle there. If your toes are slightly in, knee kind of just comes with it without collapsing all the way in. So knee bent, toes about forward, and you're going to hold here. I like to think you want to take up space when you're Warrior 2. Oftentimes people are kind of crunched up like this, and then they're having actually a harder time balancing. So if you're tall, I'm like 5'9", maybe, and I'm taking up space. I'm taking up a large length of my mat. Kind of like my wrist is almost over my knee and my back wrist is over my ankle. That's just approximate. So what that does is it gives you space to bend into this right knee, to straighten this left leg, and to kind of get your hips stacked. Not stacked, your hips stable here. So right knee over right ankle. The heel of that front foot is kind of in line with the middle of the arch of your back foot. You're going to have the back edge of your left foot parallel to the back edge of your mat. And the key here for both feet is really pressing into your feet. Your feet are an active part of this pose. So I'm pressing down through my right foot and I'm pressing back through my left foot. And you can kind of see when I press back, that causes some great quad engagement in the front of this left thigh. From here, my hips are open as much as they can be with that rotation. Rib cage stacked on top of pelvis, shoulders on top of rib cage, and then arms are going to reach long. I always like to shrug the shoulders up and then soften them down and think about actively pressing my palms into the ground. So feet press down, palms press down, and then gaze can be forward. Beautiful. Let's try that simply with just a couple of my favorite cues on the other side. So you're coming into Warrior 2, say you're coming in from crescent lunge, right? You're going to open up to Warrior 2. Left knee is bent. Right foot presses back. Fingertips reach. Take a breath in and out. Press back through your right foot. Press down through your left foot. Really take up space in your warrior and arrive fully. One more inhale. One more exhale. Beautiful. I hope that made sense. If you have any questions, drop them below. Thanks for tuning in.